Greetings, I'm Aditi Saxena from the PGDM General Management Program at XLRI Jamshedpur. Today, I'm joined by someone who's built a truly multi-dimensional career. He scaled Razorpay's startup and SMB business 10x, led Azure cloud marketing across Asia at Microsoft, shaped GenAI GTM at Chargebee, worked across multiple tech sectors, and is also visiting professors at IIMs. Mr. Veda, thank you so much for joining us. It's a privilege to have you here today with us.
Thank you, and thanks for the kind words.
They're just facts. So stoked for this because you are someone who has, worn many hats and you've excelled at each one of them. And before we delve into your experience, let's start off with some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. So if you weren't in tech or marketing role, which parallel life would you be living?
Always wanted to be a writer. I've had a few stories as well, short stories that I published. So I've always been fascinated with writing fictional stories. So I might have been a writer.
Oh my God, that's a cool parallel life you would be living. Even I love writing. I really love writing and reading books a lot. And coming on to the next question, a book, movie or piece of writing that changed your approach to storytelling?
Quite a few. I think I'm a big fan of the Cinderella Man movie, in case you've seen it or any of our viewers have seen it.
I haven't heard of it, but
that's a great movie. It's a true story. I'm a big fan of the Troy movie as well.
Yes.
I think Hollywood, their storytelling skills are on the next level. So quite a few great movies. Yes. And I'm a big fan of the Baahubali movie as well in India, which I think is the greatest Indian movie ever made.
I agree.
Big fan of the storytelling skills there as well. So yeah.
I agree with you, totally. So next question, your favorite city for work and why?
Bangalore. Always. I think the energy levels there are of a different level. I'm from Chennai myself. And obviously, I don't like the weather there. I love the city to bits, but I don't love the weather. You just have 3 seasons there, hot, hotter, hottest. I love the weather in Bangalore and the energy that you get.
Yes, that's true.
Working with people around you. You don't find that in any other place in India. I think Pune to a certain extent comes close, but I don't think there's any other place in India.
Not even Hyderabad?
Not Hyderabad, not Delhi for sure, not Mumbai.
Okay.
I think Bangalore, the energy levels are of a different level.
Wow. I would like to work there now. Because all this while I had been working in Calcutta. So I have not been to Bangalore.
Sure.
Okay. The last question for the rapid fire. One thing your students always get wrong about you.
I mean, a lot of people think that I'm an extrovert. I'm actually not. I'm more of an introvert. Extrovert is more of a guise that I put on.
Oh my God.
I actually like to be in my own corner, curled up with a book. That's what I like. Yeah.
You follow the motto, fake it till you make it then.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, students always create their own versions in their head about professors. That was very much fun. Let's shift gears now and talk about your journey and experiences. Coming on to the first question, sir. So a lot of roles you took look very different on paper, be it product, engineering, consulting, marketing, GTM or teaching. When you zoom out, what's the single thread that connects all these transitions?
I think it's an interesting question. I think one of the things that's super critical for anyone to be successful in today's world, and we had the panel discussion on AI just now, I think is all of us need to be good at selling and sales. There is this misconceived notion that a lot of people have in India that selling skills are just for the salespeople and people look down upon it. But I think that's the most critical skill regardless of the function you are in, be it product, be it marketing, be it in tech. Because you need the ability to be able to sell your ideas to people around you in the room and get them to align on a common shared vision. I think that is super important. And that is a skill which I think, and I like to believe, is a common denominator that I've had across all of these different adventures.
Okay. But was any transition particularly uncomfortable for you? Like when you were transitioning from consulting to product?
I think across the board, almost every single transition, right? If it's not uncomfortable, then it means that you are in the comfort zone. It's called transition for a reason. So it needs to be uncomfortable by definition.
Yeah.
I think the move from product to digital marketing, I cut my teeth in digital marketing to begin with. When I first made the transition into marketing, that was probably a more natural progression. I didn't find it too difficult because a lot of the skills were similar. It was just a slight nuanceical shift in thinking.
Yeah.
But other than that, almost every other transition was slightly more difficult.
Okay. That was insightful. Okay, coming on to the next question. So you've worked in product marketing and sales leadership like we discussed. How has this integrated view shaped the way you think about growth in AI heavy SaaS?
I think what's important is it's helped me develop a lot of empathy. Because when I'm having a conversation with a cross-functional partner, I've been in their shoes. I know exactly what they're going through. And I think that's very important for us as professionals to understand that when you speak, quite often we speak from our own worldview.
Yeah.
It's important for us to understand where the other person is at and speak in a manner that resonates with that person.
Yeah.
That's what I believe distinguishes a really successful professional from a not so successful professional. It's not the IIT or the IIM tag that will take you only so far, but what really differentiates a person over the long term is how well they're able to relate with the other person in the meeting room. And I think that's been one thing that's really helped me.
Yeah. So would you say that cross-functional exposure should start early?
I don't think it should start early. I made more than my fair share of mistakes. I don't think it should start early, because if you start too early, it becomes that you become a jack of all trades, master of none. I think it's good to specialize deeply and well early on before you look to branch out.
Okay, agreed. Okay, next question. So when you look back at your Razorpay journey, what were the practical things you did day to day that actually moved the needle?
I think the one thing which a lot of people don't recognize is the huge role that luck plays, right? Razorpay, we had a huge bull run, but it was, in all humility and transparency, I need to accept that it was also aided and abetted by the COVID pandemic.
Definitely.
Which caused that boom in digital payments and transactions in India. And I and Razorpay, we just happened to be in the right place at the right time. So serendipity and luck plays a huge role, but we did everything we could to maximize our luck surface area. So we could take advantage of that moment. I think the biggest thing that worked during my time at Razorpay was the self-serve engine that worked for us, because I've been in other businesses before which could never quite scale, because for every single customer acquisition, you needed a salesperson to pick up the phone and have a conversation or have an in-person meeting with that prospect, for that prospect to open up their wallets and pay.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of the business, nature of the company, nature of the category they were involved in, etc., etc. But Razorpay was one such company, like I said, aided and abetted by macroeconomic headwinds as well, which made digital payments a necessity for a lot of businesses. Self-serve really boomed. Self-serve, the definition of self-serve, of course, is the fact that if you get customers or prospects to transact with you just through your marketing and sales efforts without any human involvement, that is called self-serve. And that really clicked for us. 90% of the startups and SMBs that we onboarded then and still continue to do so were through the self-serve mode. They came in without talking to a single salesperson. We grew 10x during that year and a half, couple of years, without hiring a single new person in the sales team.
Wow. I don't know, you really command attention so well. I can listen to you talk all day. Thank you for that answer, sir. Okay, so you led the GenAI GTM at Chargebee at a time where everyone was talking about AI, right? So how did you figure out what real problem Chargebee should solve instead of getting lost in the hype and all those hubbub and noise?
I think the biggest thing which a lot of people don't recognize about GenAI startups, while there is a lot of hype and hoopla around a lot of GenAI companies, almost all of them are bleeding money. Almost all of them are unprofitable. Almost all of them are loss-making. So we figured out that one of the ways for us to go to market for this AI segment, this AI industry, was to pivot our narrative to anchor on profitability. Chargebee is a company that provides pricing solutions. So we said that as an AI business, everybody is focused on growth. Why don't you focus on profitability? And you have this hybrid pricing model. That was our entire pitch and our pivot. We said that why don't you charge flat plus usage-based pricing? Because that's where a lot of AI companies, which were wrapper services, which were built on top of the large language models, that's where they were all losing money. For example, there was this AI company, which was a client of Chargebee, which was essentially selling to a lot of travel airline companies were their customers. It was providing essentially a customer service chatbot, and Malaysian Airlines was one of its customers. And during peak travel season, obviously the number of chat inquiries from Malaysian Airlines customers would increase, which means that the cost incurred by this wrapping service, because they were using one of the large language models in the back end, their costs incurred because they were having a lot of token usage. But they were charging a flat rate to their end customer. So they were bleeding money. So as Chargebee, that was our entire go-to-market strategy, wherein we pivoted on the narrative that as an AI company, you can grow and at the same time be profitable, while growth is important. And for that, you need hybrid pricing, which is a combination of flat plus usage-based pricing. So that was something that worked well for us.
Nice. Thank you. At Microsoft Azure, you led marketing across Asia with diverse markets. So how did you balance the global playbooks with local market realities?
I think that's a Microsoft philosophy as well, wherein you have a lot of global templates which are defined by the corporate marketing team. And certain percentages of them are fixed, and then the field marketing teams, which was people like me, we had the freedom and the flexibility to customize certain elements of the template in order to resonate better with local market realities. And we also had the freedom and the flexibility to create a certain number of bespoke, ground up, new kind of activation formats, which made sense for that particular market. That was something that we did a lot of. So Microsoft as a company gave this philosophy wherein some of it was templatized, obviously for efficiency reasons. Some of it was the local field teams were given that freedom to experiment and be creative because they know the market better.
Yeah, that's true. But did any local insight ever flip a plan completely? Like, did it come across as a shock to you?
I think digital natives as a segment, I think that is a segment, especially in a market like India. India is one of the world's largest startup and fastest growing ecosystems when it comes to startups in the world. And digital natives, as they are called, if you look at the cloud lingo, because they are born in the cloud, digital natives. That's how a lot of the cloud companies and hyperscalers call startups. So the digital natives ecosystem has essentially made Microsoft as a company unlearn a lot of assumptions that they had about the market, because a lot of the things that these companies do and they go through, and their approach to go to market and their approach to cloud consumption is very different from how other traditional enterprises approach things, because they were actually born in the cloud. And catching them young is super critical. So Microsoft as a company historically has always focused on the large enterprises. Whereas in this particular case, they had to pivot their narrative and focus on smaller startups as well, because if we don't catch them when they're young, it's almost impossible to get them to move their cloud provider once they scale. I think that was a big change.
I love how you explained that. Thank you, sir. Coming on to the next question. So you've advised early stage startups and worked with very large enterprises. How does AI adoption differ in these two domains, like in between the startups and the big organizations?
I think in a big organization, they use AI more for internal productivity. And quite often you've got an AI change manager or a transformation leader who needs to check that box to make sure that his or her job is intact. And it's used more often than not for internal productivity and not as much for external go-to-market. Whereas in smaller startups, they use it more for external go-to-market. That's usually the first starting point. However small the interventions might be, they start there because they're not big enough for them to explore. Internal productivity doesn't really make sense for them. They're in the business of making money when they're small, because it's a question of survival. They probably have 10, 20, 50 employees to begin with. So internal productivity is not a big thing for them. But if you're a large organization, that's usually the starting point.
Okay. So, but who adapts faster in your experience? The mid-size, suppose.
The smaller companies are always the more agile ones, for sure.
That's true.
The larger elephants don't dance. That saying is true for a reason. Larger companies always take time to adapt. There are cultural connotations. The organizations are just too large, right? You've got a lot of people doing the same job quite often. So obviously they are much more slothful.
That comparison is quite real. Having it laid out so clearly is incredibly helpful. Thank you. Okay, so you teach digital and digital marketing and AI marketing at IIM Indore, Kozhikode and Kashipur, and also in NUS Singapore. So what are the biggest misconceptions students have about AI in marketing when they enter your class? Or is there a particular misconception that shows up every year consistently?
I think it's similar to the misconception that happened when digital marketing really grew. If you go back 10 years, this probably dates me a bit, but if you go back 10 years, before the advent of digital, before 10, 12 years ago, a lot of people felt marketing was all about being creative. Right? You need to have a very strong right-brained thinking. So if you were strong creatively, you would automatically be good at marketing, and marketing, they equated it with creativity. Then digital marketing came in and that boom started, and there was this huge leading towards data-driven marketing, insightful marketing, and the pendulum swung to the other end, wherein marketers started behaving like bean counters, literally, right? Wherein they started focusing on the numbers, and only the numbers, and they forgot about the creative aspect. And then the pendulum swung and we achieved some kind of a balance. I think I see something similar now with AI in marketing, wherein people are thinking that it's all about AI now in marketing, and you can forget about the customer, you can forget about not having a strong understanding of the business, etc. I think that is probably a misconception. They think AI first. A lot of the fundamentals haven't changed enough. I know the world is changing a lot, but there are a lot of constants as well in this world. A lot of people don't recognize those constants. I think those will not change. I mentioned this in the panel as well. I think before 2024, if I was hiring for a performance marketer, I would have looked for somebody who was strong technically, who had that experience of running Facebook ad campaigns, running A/B tests, was technically strong in running Facebook ads. Now that is essentially table stakes. AI can do as good a job. So what I need from a Facebook marketer, that is a given. Of course, I need that. But what I really need is somebody who has a strong understanding of the domain, who has a strong understanding of the business and the customer context.
Agreed.
I think that is what will differentiate folks.
Yeah. And that's an important reminder because AI does not replace fundamentals. It amplifies them basically. Okay. So coming to a penultimate question, sir. You have participated in writing workshops and creative communities. How has storytelling influenced your GTM and marketing decisions?
I think across the board. So at Simplilearn, we had an interesting conundrum. Simplilearn is a company, one of the world's leading edtech providers. And we had this interesting conundrum. Simplilearn sells online recorded solutions for the most part, right? So as you can imagine, there is no COGS, cost of goods sold. So it's the same online solution that it is selling and reselling again and again. So after the first couple of sales, it recovers its original cost. So every subsequent sale directly hits the bottom line. But we had a problem because VCs wouldn't touch us with a barge pole. Because they felt the business was inherently risky because there was no repeat business baked in. Almost 99% of the company's revenues were coming in only from net new acquisitions, which is also natural because if you've just spent $20,000 in your hard-earned money in a digital marketing certification, an online course, pretty difficult to convince you to spend another 20,000 in another course. It's not like booking a cab on Ola. That's the nature of the category. Whereas there at Simplilearn, we pivoted the narrative. And then now this is where I'm coming to the answer to your question, wherein we pivoted the narrative to say that, listen, I'm not just a training provider for you. I'm here as your learning partner. And here is your customized learning path for which you are here at the base of this mountain. You need to get to this peak, which is your chief marketing officer role. But getting there, you need to go through base camps A, B, C, which is your customized bespoke learning path. We targeted this specifically to existing customers of Simplilearn 6 months after they had graduated, who had given a good NPS score. And this was the storytelling narrative arc that we employed, which helped us drive that conversion. So from virtually zero contribution to month-on-month revenues from repeat customers, we moved that to 15% net new contribution to revenues every single month coming in from repeat customers. Without spending a single incremental dollar in marketing, just through a strong understanding of the customer persona and a creative storytelling arc that we use, which drove direct business benefits.
Okay. What is the NPS score you mentioned?
Net promoter score. Okay. So if you've not been happy with us the first time, it'll be stupid for me to come back to you again, right? People who had given an 8 or a 9 out of 10 in the net promoter score rankings, those were the only ones we went after.
Okay. That actually saves the time and resources too. That's good. Okay. So I'd like to conclude this enriching podcast with one final question. So young professionals today want careers that touch product, marketing and AI. How would you advise a 25-year-old to design their next 10 years in this space?
I think a lot of the roles, I mentioned this in the panel as well earlier, I think across any human endeavor, there is a certain quantum of work which is grunt work, a certain quantum of work which is insightful work. What AI has done hasn't really changed the role itself, or what it has done is within that role, it's taken away that grunt work aspect. So I think that is something that people should realize. I don't think careers have altered fundamentally. Now, if you are, so when you pick a role which has a greater quantum of that insight component. As long as you do that, you will always stay relevant and go deep in a particular area for the first 5, 7, 8 years in your career before you look to branch out and generalize.
That's right. So, is there a skill that you wish you had learned earlier?
Sales skills, selling skills. I realized this much later. I mentioned this earlier. I realized that selling is so important only when I was in my 30s. I wish I had known this earlier. Selling is your ability to convince people around you and get them to align towards a shared vision is super important. Selling is not just for the salespeople. Selling is for everyone.
Thank you, sir. That was a fantastic note to leave us with, sir. Thank you so much for really sharing your journey and the insights with us today. It was very engaging, warm, and incredibly real. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for joining us today.